Hi everybody! Today we're going to edit our photo in Photoshop. First, let's talk about our action plan. Check this out. This is the picture we're going to get in the end. Let's turn off all the layers. The first thing we'll do today is a small photo collage. Next, we'll work with the background. Then, we'll move on to facial retouching, working with the light and skin tones. Next, we'll work with a layer of adjustments, followed by various texture applications for the image that will ensure a fairy tale-like mood in our picture. In the end, we'll finalize the lighting and colors. And the very last stage will be a corrective layer for light and contrast. Let's go back to the original photo and begin with edits. I have already prepared the original collage photos that we exported from Lightroom in our last session. First, I'd like to merge the lantern, hair, and some facial and background elements with the original photo. Grab the Move tool, point it at the picture that has your desired details, and hold the left mouse button. Move the cursor to the tab of the original image where you want the elements to appear. Hover the cursor over it, and once it opens, release the hold on the left mouse button, and we get one image on top of another. Now we have to make these pictures fit together. The model's eye and highlights will help us with that. Let's reduce the opacity a bit, to about 46%. Using the moving tool again, I'm going to make sure the eyes in both of these images perfectly align. You can also use the arrows on your keyboard for convenience after you select the moving tool. Now let's add a black layer mask. Click and hold the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a Windows keyboard, and click on Add Mask. We get a black mask for the layer where we can draw with the ordinary white brush. I take the brush tool, set the flow to 100%, and begin to reveal the lantern. Let me show you which brush I use. Right-click on the picture to open the brush menu. I chose the second standard brush. Set the hardness to 0, and for the size, you can choose whatever you like. With these careful circular movements, I reveal the lantern. To make it appear on our picture even better, I'll merge some of the backgrounds between two images. You can reduce or increase the size of the brush using the square brackets keys of your keyboard. You'll find them near the Enter key. Now let's merge some hair between two shots. To do this, I'll reduce the flow on our brush to about 14%. Start gently drawing the hair. It might be difficult for you at first, so it might be worth reducing the flow even less. If you've painted something extra on the photo that you don't need, you can easily remove it. You just need to change the color of the brush to black and go over the elements that you don't need. Your brush will work as an eraser. The only difference is that this information is not actually erased. You can bring it back at any time by changing the color of the brush again to white. Let's see how the hair falls on this layer and turn off the mask. Hold Shift and click on the mask layer. It's turning off, okay? Let's see. I click on the layer mask again, and it's back on. Our next step is to insert the book from this picture. Again, select the moving tool. Press the left mouse button and drag this photo to our original photo. We want it to look as if we have this book in the background that supposedly radiates a contour light. Once again, let's add a black mask layer. Press the Option or Alt keys and click on Add Mask. Here we'll draw our book using the standard gradient. select the gradient tool, which is right here, and go to the gradient settings menu, which is on the top left. Here I chose the second standard gradient, which is configured in a way that has the color gradient of your choice on one end, and on the other, it's transparent. This results in a smooth transition from color to clear. Check this out. Let's select the bottom left point on the gradient, responsible for color at location 0. I mean all the way to the left. I choose the next point, which is also on the top left. This is our opacity. See here, when the opacity is set to 100%, the location is 0. If I select another point on the gradient, the top right one, I get the opposite. The opacity is 0, while the location is 100%, which means it's all the way to the right and entirely transparent. The lower point on the right is responsible for the color. The color here is also set to white, but the location is 100%. Here in this menu, we have a check on the foreground. Under these settings, when we change the color in this menu, the color on the gradient will also change. I choose white and start drawing our book. Let's reduce the opacity a bit so that the gradient is softer. I take a brush and begin to work out more details. I need to adjust the size and flow of the brush because I need some areas to feel softer while some harder. Let's say the book should be visible. But all of these little highlights can be more transparent. Now we need to figure out the lighting for our book. For that, I go into Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer and click on Curves. The Curves menu opens up. At the bottom, there's a square with an arrow. When we click on it, the curve attaches to the lower layer and only works on this layer. I'll fix a point at the bottom and lower the curve a bit to make the book match both the foreground and the background. Our final step here is to fix this highlight on the face from the contour light because it's too bright. We'll take it from this picture. Grab the lasso tool, draw a circle like this, take the moving tool, and drag the cutout part to our original picture. Here at the top, go to the Edit tab and select Free Transform. Hotkeys are Command+T for Mac or Control+T for Windows. Slightly reduce the opacity to see the transformation better. For even better visibility, set the blending mode for the layer to darken. In this mode, only the shadows are visible on the layer, and the lighter tones are not. I move our layer in such a way that it matches facial geometry. I want to correct the geometry of our layer a little. To do this, I'll need the Deformation menu. Right-click on your mouse and select Warp. I'm only making tiny corrections. I pull from above to the left and to the right from below, and press OK. Next, I set 100% opacity for the layer. Press the Option key, or Alt for Windows, and turn on the black mask layer, and take the white brush again. I have my flow here set to 13%, and I'm starting to carefully transform the highlight, just like we did with our book. After fixing the highlight, I'll reduce the overall opacity of the layer to make it look even more natural. Now let's group all these layers. I click on Shift, select all layers, and move them to the bottom right corner, right into this folder. Now we have a group. Let's give it a name. Collage. So this is it for this lesson, guys. Our next class will be even more interesting. we're going to work on the face and retouch the skin.